You are listening to Basement Chronicles with Lisa Dublin, episode number 49. In this episode, I talk about the power of doing a postmortem on your projects or relationships or situations, all of the things. I use my own disastrous event as a reference, and I show how asking 3 important questions can actually help you to do better the next time. Hey, you made it! Welcome to my basement. I'm Lisa Dublin, a health and life coach, and I help professional and executive women to live, lead, and speak with confidence. Because you know what? Developing your confidence and deepening your faith in God is the best formula for an amazing life. So, are you ready? Let's go. Hey everybody, how are you doing? So yes, I have been meaning to get back to this podcast for a very long time, but there was so much in the way and it wasn't really a matter of not having the time. I needed to do a different kind of structure to figure out how to make this sustainable and to make it make sense. So that's why I took some time away. But if I'm back, it means there's a plan in place. So I'm so happy you are here. If you are just joining me for the first time, there are like 48 episodes to go back and listen to, or you can just start from today. But I hope to start giving you more value in a way that makes business sense and makes heart sense. I hope you're ready. One of the things that you know about me if you have been following Basement Chronicles is that, we are going to be honest. We are going to go deep. We are going to go raw. And that's how we are going to continue because you know what? Like me doing the podcast is a human being. And who am I doing the podcast for? Other human beings. And so there's a level of truth, vulnerability, and transparency, I believe, that actually draws people to you as opposed to making you look bad, right? And I really don't think I understand or appreciate being polished without being true. Or, I am more interested in fire and passion and determination and energy and in delivering a kind of truth that really transforms people long after they're finished listening to the podcast. And so this episode is called The Postmortem That I Dreaded. I really want to encourage you through my story to do a postmortem after something important does not go the way you wanted it to go. That is so hard, you guys. It is humbling, it is uncomfortable, but it is also one of the wisest things that you can do if you actually want to grow in any area of your life. I'll begin by telling you what happened. We just graduated the second cohort of Speak with Confidence here in Canada. Yay! And let me say this first. The program itself, those 6 weeks together, the program proved to be very strong and rich. The students worked hard, the curriculum delivered, and the transformations were real. But the final presentation, oh my goodness, I feel like it was a disaster. Well, not really, and I'll tell you why. Let's just say that it did not go as I had planned it. And that bothered me very deeply because I like to execute at a high level. One of my watchwords for my company is elegant. Another one is sophisticated. Another one is professional. These are some of my watchwords, words that I live by and try to give that kind of experience to all my clients. And yes, some good things did happen. The students graduated. They did their final presentations. You could see growth. There was warmth in the room in terms of who attended and how people got along. A typical Lisa kind of vibe, if I may. But other things did not go very well. Like I couldn't get my projector to start. I couldn't get things to go the way that I wanted to. And I felt so disappointed and exposed and annoyed with myself. And you know what else I felt? Honestly, I was just totally embarrassed. Because there were points where people were waiting on me and it wasn't ready, okay? So I decided to do what I often tell other people to do, a proper and perhaps painful postmortem. Now, those of you who may not use that kind of language, let's simply say that a postmortem is simply a review after the fact. It's a sober, clear-eyed look at what happened, right? It's not meant to shame you. It's not meant to help you wallow in misery and, oh, poor me, I can't do anything. No, you should not get dramatic. You just do a postmortem in order to learn. And when I do those kinds of evaluations, because that is exactly what it is, an evaluation, I usually ask 3 questions. In fact, if I may, I actually do this kind of evaluation after every speech or presentation. I ask the following questions. What worked? Number 1. What didn't work? That's question number 2. And the third question, what will I do better next time? They seem so simple, these questions, but guess what? They are very powerful. And I want to examine today why I would recommend, and offer that you do postmortems when things don't go well, and sometimes even when they do. Let's start with the first question. What worked? This one is important because when something goes badly or even not very well, our emotions can become very loud. We can start speaking in absolutes. Did you hear me at the beginning of the podcast when I was like, oh my goodness, it was a disaster? Right, that was like just not true. It wasn't all a mess. Even logically, statistically, you can't 100% mess up. I just maintain that. And when I look at that final presentation, many things worked. As in the students presented their work, they were not fazed by, all of the changes that we had to make. In other words, they completed the program, they got their certificates. Another thing that I was very proud of was that we created a warm atmosphere. The room was warm just in terms of how people felt about themselves and each other. It wasn't one of those pretentious rooms, not at all. I think, as I said, a Lisa event. And it matters to be able to point out what worked in the first instance, because when you answer that question by identifying the things that actually worked in whatever you're doing the postmortem on, it will stop you from becoming so disappointed that you get clouded in your judgment and unable to see everything that happened. Identifying what worked as the first step in the postmortem is very important. It also helps you to know what to keep. Because if you are frustrated, you may throw away good elements simply because they are standing too close to the parts that failed. And that would be foolish. So you must take the time to dissect the event in the postmortem by first identifying, even in the mess, what parts actually worked. Everything did not fail. Some things worked. You need to name them, keep them, and build on them. Now let's move to the second question. What didn't work? Oh my goodness. I'm so happy that I actually did what worked first. Because when I got to what didn't work, honestly, I had a long list of things that went wrong in that event and ways that, I just felt that I failed. And when you do that question, it really will demand humility because it's like it shows you up, right? This is where you stop hiding behind your intentions. This is where you stop spiritualizing everything, okay? The devil was not in the details. It was you who was not in the details. That's where you stop calling lack of structure flexibility, or you look at a weak system and say, oh, it was just a one-off. When you ask yourself the question and give honest answers to what didn't work, you show yourself up and you show definitely what needs to be improved. When I looked at that event, I realized that I needed to delegate more. I needed more help. I needed people who had a different skill set than I did. I just simply needed to come to the event, set up perhaps a projector, and not even do any of that. So, I have a whole plan, and I'll tell you about it in a bit, of what I'm going to do differently the next time. And that takes me to the next question. When you ask yourself, what will I do better next time? Honestly, the power returns. You return yourself to some locus of control. Because the question before, the one about what didn't work, it can really pull the rug off from under you. But when you start to think about what will I do better next time, your power returns. How? Now you're talking about strategy. Now you are no longer looking back, but you are building forward. That in itself gives you hope. Now you're no longer just licking your wounds or, rubbing salt in them, but now you are designing in the hope that later is going to be greater. And I think that is everything. That is where you find the strength to do the exercise in the first place when you understand that you can get to that point. That third question, what will I do better next time? It forced me to action. Let me tell you, by the time I was done with the exercise, you guys, I had developed a standard operating procedure for the final event. So it means I went through everything that worked, didn't work. I decided on what I needed to do better next time. And according to the dictates of what I needed, I put together SOPs. So it means going forward, I can bring somebody into my business, or when I have a team for the event, which was part of what I said I'm going to do, I identified a couple people who I'm going to work with just for that last event because I am not a planner, clearly. And I need people with a different skill set who have the expertise to put an event together in short shrift and to do it well. So I did the SOPs, and it means what the SOPs or standard operating procedures, what they do is to ensure that you have standards, ensures too that there's a consistency of quality and offering across my cohorts, across my program. You see that? So that would not have come about if I had just simply maybe glossed over the fact that my last event was not up to par, or if I had just simply wallowed in misery, oh my gosh, I can't do that, I'm not good at planning, and just stay helpless. When you do a postmortem, you're saying, I know I was not at my best, let me find out why so that I don't repeat it. I don't repeat it. I was going to say I don't repeat it again, but who says that? Okay. So you realize that it's not just an event. Let's say a relationship is not going well. Perhaps you can do a postmortem on what is happening or what has happened. Even any other thing, a family gathering or something that happens that perhaps is one-off or is continuing, you can sit down and do a postmortem. And it gives you clear direction of where to go next for you to find success with that event or whatever the object is of the postmortem. So if something in your life did not go as planned, don't waste that pain. Sit down and review it. Ask yourself what worked, what didn't work, and what will I do better next time? Then, podcast listeners, get up, build better, and just go again. All right. I hope this podcast really meant something to you this time. Let me know if you found it useful. Don't forget, don't ignore the signs that things are not going well. We have to build, but we also have to build in wisdom and understanding and knowledge, right? That's very, very important. Before we sign off, I want to invite you to take the next step with me. If you know you have something to say, but you want help saying it with more clarity, confidence, and more power, start with my free Speak with Confidence Starter course. It's a beautiful way to begin strengthening your voice and your message. Go to lisamdublin.com/SWC starter for more information and to sign up. And if you are ready for deeper support, then I invite you to join the next cohort of Speak with Confidence. We have both virtual and in-person cohorts. Speak with Confidence is my signature program designed to help you become a stronger, more effective speaker in your work, your business, and your life. And for those of you who know that the issue is not speaking, but that perhaps you feel stuck in a deeper way with your mindset, your direction, perhaps you are stuck with old habits that are preventing you from moving forward, I want to invite you into my life coaching program, How to Get Unstuck. This is where we do the deeper work of helping you move forward with clarity, confidence, and intention. And how do we do it? We do it by providing knowledge, systems, and accountability to get you from good to great. So whether you need help finding your voice, strengthening your presence, or getting unstuck altogether, there is another step for you in my world. All the links are in the show notes. Get in touch. I would love to work with you.